NBC News, from the #1 morning show in America
This is Today.
to the #1 network evening newscast
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
and America's most watched news magazine
Dateline NBC.
to the #1 weekend morning program,
Weekend Today.
plus the most quoted broadcast in America.
Meet the press.
Now, more than ever, America is watching NBC News. From Studio 3B in Rockefeller Center, here is Stone Phillips.
Good evening. What was your first paying job? Cutting grass, babysitting, a summer internship? You earned some money, learned a thing or two about responsibility, and felt good about doing a job well. Well, the young people you're about to meet say they worked very hard in a job that promised not only good pay, but a chance to travel the country, meet new people, and build character and self-esteem. But once they hit the road, they say they were taken for a ride, exploited, and even abused. As Rob Stafford tells us, taking this job wound up costing some of these teenagers their lives.
This is NBC5 Chicago.
Police say the tragic accident was caused by reckless driving. They say the driver was trying to
The
switch
report on the
lanes.
news of a deadly Wisconsin van crash told only part of the story. 7 lives lost, passengers in a van packed with 14 young people. But this was not a joyride. They were not out drinking, they were working, traveling door to door selling magazine subscriptions. You may have seen kids like them in your neighborhood. On this night, police say their driver did not have a license and tried to switch seats with a passenger.
It finally hit me. 6 of my friends were dead. And then the 7th one died when I got home.
By the time she heard the news, Devin Knox was safely in her motel, but she'd been part of the same traveling crew.
Could you have been in that van that day?
Anyone could have been in that van.
But why was anyone in that van? Why did they sign up to sell magazines door to door? Devin Knox says she was hoping for travel, adventure, and money. The lure is so strong, some young people join without even telling their parents. Others have parents who don't object. But what too many of them say they find is not a glamorous life on the road, not a big paycheck, but long hours, low pay, and even danger. Now, some of these young people may have an axe to grind, but the stories you're about to hear are consistent and disturbing, and are now the focus of both state and federal investigations. It all began for Devin Knox when she spotted this ad in her local newspaper. Rock to work and roll to the bank, it read. High pay, casual working conditions, and coast-to-coast travel for the adventurous type. To Devin, just a month out of high school, it was irresistible.
Did it sound exciting?
Oh, yeah, it did. It sounded so really, honestly, it did. It was just kind of like, you know, I heard of all the places that they got to go, and I was like, these are places I want to go.
Here's how it works. Managers who recruit the young people provide vans for transportation, plan the route, book inexpensive motels, and take in the money. In return, the young sellers earn a commission on each subscription.
I still have that card that Jessica gave me.
Devin's boyfriend, Adam Stem, like some of those on the cruise, had been in trouble with the law at home. Selling magazines was a chance for a new start. He joined the magazine crew and sold for 9 months. Devin worked there 5 weeks. Both say they enjoyed selling subscriptions at first, but soon learned it had a price. 13-hour days on the road, 6 days a week. Exhausting, but not illegal. The door-to-door sales business is exempt from federal minimum wage and overtime laws. And since both Devin and Adam were over 16, there were no limits on the amount of time they worked.
I honestly think that it's a scam.
Devin says most nights there were 3 to a motel room, and those who made the fewest sales that day slept on the floor that night. And they say the crew manager tightly controlled the money. Adam told us those who sold enough subscriptions were given $15 or $20 a day for food, but those who could not sell received even less.
Sometimes people even got $7, $5 a day. I mean,
How do you eat on $5 or $7 a day?
you get what you can, and then what you don't have, you usually borrow from one of the girls or another crew member, or you. Sometimes I've even seen people steal their food out of the gas stations.
Some of the crew members who weren't making any money would steal food.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Oh yeah.
It's just a contest, sort of.
We spoke with another former salesman who says he worked for 4 different companies. Doyle Weber also described the tremendous control the managers and the crews he worked for had over their sales agents, deciding how much they eat, how much they sleep, and how much they make.
You're like programmed, basically, you know, to a certain degree. It's, you have to do this, you have to do it this way, and, you know, it's set routines, and, you know, don't screw it up.
The stories these 3 young people told us on camera are consistent with what others told us off camera, as well as affidavits and statements collected by state investigators after the accident. It is all stunningly similar to the stories NBC News first heard about these traveling sales crews in 1986. Back then, former salespeople even told us about physical abuse by some of the managers.
The way you get thrown around like a rag doll.
Congress held hearings a year after our story, but did not pass any new laws. And now, more than a decade later, Adam and others we spoke to said they have seen some managers abuse their young crew members.
Sometimes he'll grab you and yell at you and get in your face, and then sometimes choke slam you at that.
Choke slam?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's where they lift you up by your neck and slam you on the ground, or slam you up against the wall, or slam you on the bed, or whatever.
In his 9 months on the road, Adam says he saw it happen at least 10 times. Industry spokesmen have denied that managers are physically abusive. In a letter to Dateline, a trade group told us it always stresses its members should abide by the law. The letter also says there are many hardworking people in the industry who follow the rules and conduct business in a responsible manner. We wanted to find out for ourselves what young people still on the road would say about their jobs. So we tracked down some of the very same crew members who've been in Wisconsin at the time of the accident and found them at this motel in Baltimore. Just as we were told, they started their day around 9 in the morning. And they didn't come back to the motel until 13 hours later. Rob Stafford with Dateline NBC.
Oh my God.
But finding out what these kids had to say turned out to be difficult. Just want to ask you a couple of questions about what it's like doing this job and working on the road.
It's good. It pays good.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
This young man seemed positive about the experience, but we didn't get far. A lot of people are concerned about you guys because of all the publicity. Should they be worried?
No.
Why not?
Not at all. Well, we well taken care of. I mean, it's no
well, I
big
just
deal.
want to
I'm
talk
outta
to him for just a couple of seconds.
You're not talking to me, real.
Why not? Why can't we talk to these guys?
Everything's good. Yeah.
Almost from the moment we showed up, the group of mostly teenagers was ushered inside and away from our cameras. Some clearly wanted to tell us they enjoyed the job, but we'd been warned that sales crews are usually prevented from talking to reporters.
I love this right here. Got me out of trouble at home.
Why can't we talk to them? Sit down and talk to him, ask him a couple of questions. He wanted to talk. Just how much money are these young people making? It's hard to know. Of 8 young agents who did speak to Dateline or the state of Oklahoma, most said they weren't always clear how much money they made. One guessed he made $400 a week. Another said just $60. But on average, like Devin, they said they made less than $200 a week, far below minimum wage given the hours they say they worked. But some people are making money. Kay Hillery runs a clearinghouse called Subscriptions Plus in Oklahoma City. Her company processes orders for 9 different crews traveling across the country, including the one in that Wisconsin crash. Have you made money?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of money?
Probably.
Can you say
What's a lot? Donald Trump has a lot of money. I don't have that kind of money.
But you've done well in this business.
I probably do as well as you do.
Kay Hillery sold magazines herself as a teenager and says the job can help some young people make something of themselves.
Give them self-esteem, change their personality, change who they are, build their character, give them self-worth. That's what it did for me. I mean.
But what about those allegations of long hours and low pay? She told us, no way.
Who's going to work 19 hours a day? Who wants to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and go to bed at midnight and do nothing but work, especially young people?
So you doubt this happens very often?
I'm not calling anybody a liar. I'm just saying, for what I know, it's not true.
These young people tell us that crew managers, if you didn't sell, sometimes gave you only $5 or $7 a day to eat. And some of them had to steal to get food.
That's a good story for them to tell. I, however, have a different opinion of that. Nobody gets $7 a day. Everybody gets, on my organizations, the smallest draw we would give somebody is $15.
Kay Hillery says a good agent can make well above minimum wage and work just 3 hours a day. And she questioned those allegations of physical abuse, saying she's seen no evidence they are true. Linda Golodner heads the National Consumers League, a privately funded consumer advocacy group. And she's glad Subscriptions Plus is being investigated, but thinks the whole industry deserves scrutiny. These companies will tell you they care about kids, that they're giving these kids an opportunity to get out of their towns, to get away from their old friends, and to make something of themselves. How do you react to that argument when you hear that?
When I hear an argument like that, it just makes my blood boil. I know that these companies are just trying to take advantage of these kids.
Kay Hillery says she is not responsible for the young people in the Wisconsin crash. She says they were not her employees. They were part of a crew owned by an independent contractor. But just how independent are they? Well, we did some checking and discovered that the contractor in that Wisconsin crash was her ex-husband. And another former husband runs another crew. Two of her brothers also run crews, and she runs 2 crews herself. Can't you see why people would think that this is one organization?
I could see how they could think that.
Certainly looks that way.
I can understand. I can sympathize with every one of you, all of you. However, you couldn't be further from the truth.
But that's not what the Oklahoma Labor Department believes. After the crash, investigators decided the young people involved were indeed her employees. They fined Subscriptions Plus for a child labor violation. Monica Forbes, badly hurt in the accident, was just 15. Kay Hillery is contesting the fine, insisting the crew was run by a different company. There was a 15-year-old critically injured in the crash.
So I understand that.
Should a 15-year-old be doing this?
No. No, she shouldn't have, and I would like to know why she was there, why she was in the van. Where were her parents?
But you're making money off of the young people who are selling for these crews.
That's right.
Do you feel responsibility for what happens to them when they're out there making money for you?
I do not feel responsible for somebody else's corporation, no.
But we asked Kay Hillery why she continued to process orders for the company in that Wisconsin crash. She said she didn't have enough evidence to prove the manager did anything wrong. But after our interview, her spokeswoman called to say Subscriptions Plus has now severed all ties with the company. Kay Hillery also says every driver should have a license and says she makes sure of that with her crews. Adam Stem is still haunted by that crash in Wisconsin. He, too, lost his license on the crew, but says he was told to drive anyway.
Were you in a situation where you got stopped by the cops and you tried to switch with another person in the van so that they would be driving?
Right, yeah, most definitely.
Did you ever do that while you were speeding down a highway?
Yeah.
Did you ever have an accident?
No. Luckily.
The wreck happened, and I was like, nah, gotta go home now.
That wreck made Devin rethink everything about life on the road. She says she had some fun times, but she is mostly bitter about the experience.
We're expected to work long hours. Pay is terrible. We're lucky if we get food from a vending machine or a gas station.
After the accident, Devin left the crew. She'd had enough of the long hours, enough of the dangers. She thought the crash had opened the eyes of her former coworkers.
Thought it was over. You know, everyone would go back home.
But she was wrong. Last time we saw them, they were back on the road.
The driver of the wrecked van pleaded guilty to 7 counts of vehicular homicide. He'll be sentenced next week. A trade group that represents magazine publishers says door-to-door sales account for just 1% of all subscriptions sold. It also says it cannot control whether businesses that organize traveling sales crews follow the law.